The music industry as a whole has faced a number of significant changes within the last 5 years, primarily due to technological advancements affecting the way that music now can be consumed, i.e. via digital download. Now this has forced the record labels to adopt new business models in order to adapt to these changes, with many arguing that the majors have been slow to capitalise on the rapidly expanding digital music landscape that the advancements in new technology presents. And this has left P2P sites to take advantage, thus resulting in the rise of piracy. Okay, so in relation to that, what's your stance on the suggestion that the record labels have been too hesitant with regards to taking advantage of the opportunities that the advancements in new technology presents?
Well, I think they have. I mean, you'll have to look at the state of EMI to see the impact that illegal downloading, this kind of pace of reaction by the major labels has had. Obviously, they're now collapsed and are in the process of being bought out by Universal. So you'll have to kind of look at the state of the market to see that it's had a huge impact, and they've not been as quick to react as some of the kind of smaller independent labels. But then obviously the bigger labels have got more red tape to cut through, so it's easier for smaller labels to react to change than it is for the larger labels.
Do you think the major record labels thought that this sort of method of consuming music was just a kind of fad or something like that?
Well, you know, to me, it's this is more like as somebody that's maybe a bit older, some of the folk in this group. I remember like tape trading and such. Like I think this is kind of like the natural progression from it. It's unfortunate for the bigger labels and everything that it's so much easier now. It's not like you have to physically go to somebody or pass them a tape and recommend these songs. But the same as say radio, it is an opportunity to promote. And I think where the big labels have gone wrong with this is in the packaging rather than their approach to signing artists and things. And what they've basically done a lot of the time is cut down the packaging to make it cheaper to mass produce the recorded output. Whereas what I've seen seems to work is actually providing a bigger, better package, because the people can already hear the music. So if there's not a package, like something aesthetic to go with it, then people are even less likely to invest in something like that.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
I signed up to a record club thing where they send you out, it's like a rough trade stores record club. And they send you out like a mystery album every month, and it comes in the post. And you don't know what you're getting until it comes in the post. And I got the CD the other day. It was by a band called, I think they're called Cheers Darling. And it came in this kind of paper case. And inside the case, there was the CD, obviously. And then in another part of the case, there was a second CD. And then in another part of the case, there was like an inlay book, which you used to get like in the old school plastic cases. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, and it was that kind of added value. And I was just like, this is cool.
A lot of albums do normal editions and then a deluxe edition with the nice packaging, so maybe they should just all be deluxe, all be
just
nice.
Cut to the chase and go for the best package that you can possibly deliver, instead of these minimalist packages, which, well, let's face it, you can probably download the front cover and print it yourself and get all of the files are free.
That one if they can get it for free online, but they might buy the deluxe one.
Added value.
As you're all aware, the record labels, major record labels, have been trying to put in place new business models to embrace the digital music age. Do you feel as if they've been successful in doing this, and what strategies are you referring to?
I think that they've been focusing on the wrong part of the problem. They've been focusing too much on trying to protect the revenue, that they've gone down the completely wrong road. Like combating, targeting people that are the kind of, what they see as like the kind of people that are instigating the download and try to get them prosecuted and all that. It's just led to undercutting technology coming in and creating new ways that people can access music that bypasses anything they've even thought of. Like, technology is always one step ahead, so they need to kind of work towards using it as a marketing and a promotion tool, as opposed to just try to cut it off at the source, because there's always going to be some new emerging technology that's going to just be that's going to undercut them, because it's always one step ahead.
I think realistically, that's what you're saying about they're going to the user. What I think would make a lot more sense is if they went to the provider, as you would do with like radio or television. I mean, they have to pay a license, and they obviously have to pay money towards collection agencies. I wonder why like internet providers don't have to do that if they can't do anything to stop music being delivered through their product. Then why do they not have to pay for that a license to allow that to happen, rather than try to chase up every single person in the country who might have downloaded a free MP3 or whatever.
And plus the legislation that they're trying to put in place with the Digital Economy Act, it's like the point of contention with that is that fair enough they want to chase the people who are downloading, but you're going to get people who have got public networks, say a kind of Wi-Fi in a cafe or something, who are going to have no knowledge of the fact that music's been illegally, if it has been illegally downloaded through their network, but they're going to be the ones that face the prosecution for it. So how are they supposed to safeguard? It means that they can't provide a kind of public network service for connecting to the Wi-Fi, which are they looking to roll out a UK-wide Wi-Fi network. I mean, how are they going to, what are they going to put in place to combat piracy through that? Because obviously if that's going to be set up by the big companies, it's just going to create even more problems.
Quite a lot of the Wi-Fi ones do track the data of the users, and
but then you could just use an IP blocking program. I mean, there's always something one step ahead of it.
I know, but you can always, and for the actual Digital Economy Act, I noticed the other day that the one in France, the Hadopi, they've actually reduced down illegal downloading, I think, by, was it 5%? Certain percentage, they actually have reduced it, and then I think about 30% of the people who actually illegally download have now started to do it less or have stopped.
How do
So I think maybe if they,
results of that something?
No, they had 3 strikes.
Yeah.
The French thing was 3 strikes.
yeah.
But
But
I
then
remember Andrew Dice saying something.
I'm not sure.
about
But
something.
the problem with the UK version is that the UK are aiming for a 70% reduction in the first year, which is completely, it's so unrealistic to think they're going to be able to combat piracy to that high percentage so quickly, just by what they've introduced to the Digital Economy Act. And I mean that came into law in 2010, and from that Ofcom were meant to have produced a document which is like kind of like a digital rights, like a kind of a guide, like a handbook, as to how to kind of go on with the prosecution. Now this is almost 2 years later, and there's still not been a handbook published. They've published a draft, but they've not actually published a final version yet. So it was taking 2 years to even just get to that stage where they're not producing anything. And no wonder people are straight on it, because they don't. It's just the government and the companies are just so slow in reacting to these things.
So would you say really that the record labels are focusing on punishment rather than incentive?
I think they've changed now. I saw something in Music Week the other day about they had a summit with a man from the government, and they were actually, it was sort of, they thought they were going to talk a lot about the Digital Economy Act, but they actually ended up talking it was like to do with web providers and things like Google, and they were talking about to stop illegal download and how the labels can work with them to get new services that they provide instead, so that they're, I don't really know how to explain it, but they were also talking about fast-tracking agreements between the labels and providers providing new services for streaming music and things, so that you don't have because obviously with Spotify and things it can be a very slow process, and they're looking at how they can speed that up to set up deals, which might help.
That Spotify is damaging to the record labels?
I think it's great. I mean, for me personally, I really enjoy using it and things, and then it does appear to help them. I mean, they are getting a revenue at least from it, and it's also really good promotion and increasing user base.
The major record labels and distributor has actually taken away about 200 labels worth of songs from Spotify because they conducted a survey and the results showed that it was damaging to the record labels. So I know you don't agree with that, but do you think that Spotify and streaming sites like that are damaging to the record labels?
I don't know, because I don't know how many people have subscribed to Spotify. I don't know how many people pay for it. I don't pay for it.
I think most of the users now pay for it, according to Music Week. But
So
be honest, I think the only way I find that it's been damaging to a record label or a band is when I hear about one and I'm like, oh, look it up on Spotify, and if it's not there, then I don't hear them and I'm not going to buy their stuff because I've never heard them. Whereas if it's on Spotify, then I'll listen to it and then buy their stuff because I want it on my iPod as well.
It's bridging the gap between accessibility and ownership, because before you'd have to go out and buy a CD, buy whatever, you owned that. What you did with it, your own kind of private, whatever, that's your own decision. With the streaming aspect, and then obviously the more money from buying that CD would go to the record label. With the streaming aspect of it, there's no transaction in the same way there was before. So there's not as much revenue going to the record labels through the sale of the physical product. So obviously the revenue is going to be reduced because of that lack of transaction. It's a difficult one because I don't think it's been around long enough to be able to give any kind of good, decent data. So,
See, I think, like I was saying before, that's kind of like a new model of using radio as a means of promotion. And if you can combine that with a proper, like a full quality physical good, I mean, people are going to listen to it online through streaming. But as you say, they don't own it. If it's that good music in their opinion, and the package that comes in physically is good enough, then you're going to make sales on that anyway. I mean, there's a big dent in actual physical sales, but that could be down to poor handling.
there's not really been a true successor to the CD, really. I mean, if you look at throughout history, obviously you've had vinyl, and then as that peaked, tapes were introduced, and then as vinyls dropped, tapes peaked. And then as tapes peaked, CDs were introduced, and then as tapes dropped, CDs peaked. But there's not been that, download hasn't been as successful as people thought it was going to be. And there's not a successor yet to the CD really, or even to the download.
The CD's
So-
still quite, I think
Well, that's-
70% of all albums sold
Yeah.
in the UK are still on CD.
Well,
Well,
for
that's the thing.
2010 in the UK was the first
It's
time
difficult.
that digital work sold physical.
And I think there needs to be a
And this year
successor
in
first
America.
before anything's going to change. And I think what that successor is, people can't decide on. And there's a lot of muckiness about it.
The acceleration of trends, if we look at some of that. Vinyl as a retro format is actually starting to grow again.
Yeah.
It's not like any level that is impacted on like CD sales. It's not going to overtake that any day soon. But then if you move to digital, eventually CD will probably end up doing the same thing. It'll be the granddad format.
So do you think that's why the record labels were slow then to pick up in digital? Because
CD's still kind of working.
They're just, I think they're just scared of change.
Well, change is difficult and expensive.
Okay, so that's been fantastic. We've got really good responses there from everyone. So thank you very much. We'll see you later. Bye bye.